Hi, OchoLibre here, and back with another adventure out of the box. And this one is two museums in Santa Paula. So I live here in Ventura, used to live here in Ojai, and here's Santa Paula. It's about 15 miles to Santa Paula, about 15 miles to Ojai, 15 miles to Ventura. Oftentimes people will take the quote-unquote back way to Ojai through Santa Paula on Route 150. This is also the place, interestingly, the Thomas fire started right here, and we were having Santa Ana winds which were howling about 60 miles an hour from the north and out this way. So the fire overnight traveled all the way from Santa Paula all the way along the south mountains of Ojai. This is Sulphur Mountain right here. This whole area burned. Later, the fire, a second fire actually started and burned the other side of Ojai. But we're not here to talk about the fire. We're here to talk about Santa Paula, which is a little city of about 30,000 people and has two cool museums. The first one is the former Limonera headquarters. I always pronounce it wrong. I used to pronounce it Lemonaria. They mostly, or one of their major crops is lemons, but Limonera, if I'm saying it right, is actually a Portuguese word, and it means land of lemons. But back in 1890, this was started. Their primary crops were lemons, oranges, and walnuts. Today, they are a publicly traded company with operations in California, Arizona, Chile, and Argentina. So they are huge. They're apparently one of the largest growers of lemons in the United States, and I guess they are the largest grower of avocados in the United States. They have over 15,000 acres of agricultural lands and now real estate developments. They currently have a project in Santa Paula, which is 550 acres. I guess just a tiny piece of their holdings, but that is a master community with 1,500 residential units, 500,000 square feet of commercial space, and 150,000 square feet of light industrial space being developed today. Here is what the museum looks like today. I don't know why it was painted white. You can see it was a beautiful brick building with ornamental concrete works, keystones, a lot of nice detail. And now it's painted white. You can also see all this stuff here is the reinforcing of the brick building for earthquake strengthening, which is typical in California. But it's now called the Jeanette Cole Art Center, and I went to see, recommended by my mom, the exhibit of Erin Hansen called Colors of California. Very interesting woman. This particular painting here, 24 by 30 inches, $10,800. She has a very sort of, to me, it looks Van Gogh-y, if I could use that as an adjective. It very thick impasto paint. And she actually developed her own style of painting called Open Impressionism. We'll get into that more in a second, but these are some of the panels in both English and Spanish at the museum where you can read about her. A really super interesting woman. Apparently she started painting very young, won a scholarship in high school to go to the Otis Design College in Los Angeles. Graduated college at 16 and went to UC Berkeley, where she apparently received a bioengineering degree as well as continuing her art studies. But she decided after college to pursue art, and she did a lot of plein air painting. Apparently got out there in the deserts. This looks like it's Utah to me. It's kind of scary stuff climbing those rocks. Here she is in her studio doing some painting. So apparently Erin made a goal of creating a painting every week, and she's done it for over she made the goal to do it for the rest of her life, and she has done it for over 20 years. That's pretty impressive. I mean, her paintings are big and interesting, and it looks like they take a lot of work. Okay, so open impressionism. Apparently she coined this phrase, she developed this style, this is hers. And from her website, it's a new style of painting developed by American artist Aaron Hansen. The style is characterized by short impasto brush strokes that are applied without layering, creating a mosaic or stone or stained glass appearance to the paintings. The paintings are created with a limited palette of colors, applied without blending or mixing on the canvas, which adds to the dimension of texture to each brush stroke. Inspired by classic Impressionism, Pointillism, Post-Impressionism, and the colors of Expressionists, Aaron Hansen continues the tradition of Impressionism into modern-day painting with her colorful and vivacious landscape paintings. That's a lot of isms. I think it's pretty cool. But if you look at this painting here and look at this palm tree, I have another slide here, which is a detail. So you can see right here that thick sort of impasto clump of paint. Apparently she puts each stroke on and then doesn't change it. I find that pretty interesting. When I put paint on there, I constantly blend and reblend color on top of the surface. But she doesn't. She puts it down once and it's done. So can you imagine painting this whole painting with a series of brush strokes like that? Pretty amazing. This one's called Colors of Light, and I apologize for the weird pictures with these angles, but if I didn't angle my camera, I got all this weird glare from the museum lights. So this was the best solution. This one's called Colors of Light. This one here is called Sherbet Blues. You can see this one has a bit of the glare of the light on it, but I like this painting. This one, by the way, is 60 inches tall by 40 inches wide and sells for $28,000. Which, if you use the square inch formula, is about $11 per square inch. Contrarily, my art goes for about $1 an inch, so that would be about a $2,400 painting. So I guess I have a long ways to go. Anyway, it's interesting to know about the pricing. And this right here is there's a big vault, the old Limonera vault, and there's a whole room in there, and apparently a basement vault. But I think it was this and the other museum I'm going to show you both had big vaults. This one's called Turquoise Palms. I like the way she gets the light in the sky and the shading of the mountains here. Very colorful and vivacious, I would say, just like her website. A triptych. This one here is called Lupin Blooms, 24 by 24. That sells for $8,600. Again, sort of reminds me of a Van Gogh style painting. Ivory Blooms. This one's called Ivory Blooms. This one is Yellow Blooms. Cadmium Blooms. She likes blooms. And Viridian Vines. Another pretty sky. So I thought her paintings were really interesting and worth seeing if you want to take a trip to Santa Paula. They also have several other artists and exhibits there. This particular woman, Shannon Celia, does a lot of stuff of local Santa Paula. There's an airport, a tiny little airport in Santa Paula, wedged in between the mountains. I've actually flown there. I'm actually a pilot. I kind of like the airplane art myself. There's another artist called Rima Muna, who did this abstract that I thought was pretty. Another one of Shannon's paintings is this oil well, which is an excellent segue for our bonus museum number 2, which is the California Oil Museum, also located in Santa Paula, and actually right next to the Limonera building, which is right here. So you can see 2 museums in one. I actually went to the Limonera exhibit and then went to this one, which closed at, I think it might close at 4 or 5 o'clock. At any rate, I had to run through it. And I didn't see a whole bunch, so I'm not sharing a whole bunch, except for the cool exhibit of the drilling rig, which you'll see in a second. But they had all kinds of oil stuff. You can see here, these are different types of oil grades, dark to refined over here. And they had all kinds of trivia or interesting stuff about oil. But I did take this video here of the rig room, which I thought was really cool. It's an actual 1890s era oil drilling rig, which was steam powered. They didn't have combustion engines then. And this is when you see those giant derricks. They would use this type of machine. There's an engine which ran off of steam from wood or coal, and this is the 15 horsepower Ferrari Treffs from Buffalo, New York, and that would rotate that wheel, which would, with a pulley system, rotate a larger wheel, which would rotate a shaft, and that big beam up there is called the walking beam, which you'll see in a second. Good old American ingenuity. But interesting to me, what would happen is the beam would go up and down, and it would literally drop a drill which was held by a piece of rope, and it would bash into the dirt. So there's the Samson post, which holds up the walking beam. And literally the way they would create these holes, which could go down to about 2,000 feet, was by pounding the earth. I don't know how they got the quote-unquote cuttings or tailings out of there. There you can see that's the rope that goes down into the well. But they could go 2,000 feet down. And then as they drilled, they would put a casing in, and eventually, when they hopefully got oil, they would put a pump on it. So this is just for drilling. Super interesting stuff. Anyway, for what it's worth, they now can drill 35,000 feet, which is about 6.5 miles. The Earth's crust, in case you were wondering, there are some drill bits. The Earth's crust runs anywhere from 18 miles thick to maybe 3 miles thick. Apparently under the ocean floor it's thinner. But the distance to the center of the Earth is 3,959 miles. But of course you couldn't get there because everything's all melty in there. So that's the Santa Paula rig room. Super cool. Here's a parting shot of the Union Oil building as it looks today. Beautiful building, largely untouched. You can see some cool stonework on the bottom level, and then more intricate stonework as you come up the building, and then brick and all the brick detailing along the roof with these really cool, I don't know what you would call these, some kind of a, I'm sure there's a name for that type of a window attached to the building. But there you go. There are 2 cool museums to check out in Santa Paula. Or if you don't want to go, of course, you've already watched this video. You don't need to. In any case, I will see you on the next Ocho adventure. Thank you very much for watching. And vaya con Dios.